Awesome. We are recording. So, hello to everyone that is watching. Welcome back to the third episode of My Avon Story. Our third guest is the wonderful Jess Hopton. Jess, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Good stuff. Yeah, we've had nice feedback so far on the first two episodes. And now we have a national champion in our midst. So, everything's going groovy. Jess, what I'd like to start with everyone so far is sort of how your journey of how you got into badminton, like from youngest age. Can you sort of talk about your first memories of like going to clubs, etc., and then how you sort of got into Avon from that point, from a young age?
Yeah, of course. So I started playing. My brother played at a local club in Yate Racketeers, I think it's known as now.
Mhm.
And I just started going along and playing a little bit. And then the coach there, who's Penny Shears, sort of was
I
like,
love
"Oh,
Penny.
you should head along." She's a good lady.
Mhm.
She sort of said you should go to these county trials.
Mhm.
And when I was about a long time ago, it was like these under 11 like development day things. So I went along to one of them, and then Paul Tomlinson was there and asked me to keep going every Sunday. So that's sort of how I started getting into the Avon stuff. I'd been playing maybe 2 years or so at the eight, so I was 9, I think, at the time, maybe 8 or 9, when I started the under 11 development squad thing. Yeah, that's how it all kicked off.
So from that point, like did you feel like once you started going regularly, did you feel like badminton was quickly becoming a passion, or did you feel like you had to work harder at it to get to like a level at that stage of your time?
I mean, I loved it. I was really lucky. There was a couple of girls, Becky Cox and Anna Manley, who I think still play
Yeah,
quite a bit. They were there, and I really got on with them really well from a young age. So just really enjoyed going. Had lots of friends there, and I think when you enjoy something, you want to keep going back and going back all the
sure.
time. I played a lot of sports when I was younger, but badminton was definitely always my favourite, just because of the social aspect, and I enjoyed that there was lots of different people around. So for sure.
So obviously you started playing quite regularly, and at 13, you got called up to the ITP squad, which obviously is the under 17 squad for anyone that doesn't know. What was that like? Because I assume that as a 13-year-old, like going to something where people are 17 at that point, that must have been quite a step up to go to that point.
Yeah, it's definitely quite overwhelming. I mean, the team at the time was really, really good as well. You had the likes of like Emily Hollis and Chris Coles, Josh Green at the time in it, so it was really, really strong. I remember going in thinking these guys are really good, and it was a bit nerve wracking, but they were again all really friendly and welcoming, and it made it a really fun experience. We came fourth in the end, which I think is one of the best
I
Avon's ever
think
done at ICT. So it
I
was
think
it was really good fun.
when I went a couple of times, Paul Tomlinson, that there were a lot of stories from that season to motivate us for sure from Paul and Gilly. Um, so from 13, you said how many ICTs did you go to? Can you remember?
I think I went to four in the end, maybe four. Yeah, definitely 4 or 5 ish.
And as a
Unfortunately, I couldn't.
sorry,
Go
go
on,
on.
sorry.
I was just
No,
saying
I
as a
put.
the internet's quite slow. My apologies. But I was just saying as a team event, like especially growing up, from 13 to 16, how important was that to get that a team that like have that team feel with Avon, but also just as a generic player, as a counter player?
I think it's nice. Like, often you go to tournaments, you're playing as an individual. It's very different feel when you go and play as a team. It makes playing for Avon and all that sort of stuff a lot different and a lot more fun,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like chopping and changing events, and you're thinking about before when you're going into a match, what's best for the team. You might not necessarily play with who you normally play with. You might play below people just to change the team up and stuff. And it was always interesting to think about the tactics around the team. And then there was always a great environment around everybody, always wanting each other to
Yeah.
win. So I love playing in team events. It's definitely a big highlight of anything in badminton.
At that stage, did you have a specific discipline which you were starting to feel like you could be best in, or was it still sort of you're playing everything to the best ability at that time, whatever the circumstances?
I mean, I played all 3 events up until I was 19. So I kind of felt like I did okay at all three,
Mm-hmm.
quite a rounded player, and then sort of made a decision at the other end of my career. I think Pete Bush definitely influenced keeping going with singles.
Yeah,
He's very
oh,
much singles
he is
orientated.
very
So
much a singles player, isn't it, or singles coach, isn't he?
yeah, for
Just
sure.
just sort of getting into, I just sort of want to know, like, because you got into a very high level quite quickly, obviously at a young age. Like, at what point in your sort of junior career did you think like, wow, like I could really go to new heights with badminton?
In all honesty, I'd never really thought about where I was in terms of national level, international level, or anything. I always just really enjoyed it, and I think the whole way through that kind of showed. I just played, always wanted to train, just loved training so much that I always wanted to go back for more. Everyone used to get the bus to Bath every day after school because my parents couldn't take me and things like that. So I just loved being in the environment in and around badminton. I think that comes hand in hand with becoming a better player. So the more you play, the more you enjoy it, the higher you get. I think it was really out the other end of university when I decided to train full time is when I really started to knuckle down and hopefully get into better heights in the senior rankings as well. But I would just say to anyone, just enjoy your whole journey, and then if you enjoy something, you're gonna perform well in it.
Awesome. And now one thing that I wanted to come on to, which was, and like is amazing to think about, is that you actually, for the 2012 Olympics, you had a little run with the Olympic torch. And you said you were 15 at the time. Like, talk to me about like how that came about and like what it was like doing something as amazing as that.
I mean, hands down, it's one of the best experiences I've ever had. It was amazing. Just the streets were so packed that day, and I just remember running down. You only get like, were you?
Yeah, I was with my family. Yeah,
oh, that's cool. I think you only get like 100 meters or something, but you like you like pretty much walking with it so slowly, and it's an unbelievable atmosphere. It sort of came about. I had Badminton England used to partnership us up with different companies to get sponsorship. So my company that I was linked with was Lloyd's TSB, who was part of the London 2012 sort of initiative. They had this sort of like volunteering scheme where you had to do like, I think it was about 8 hours a week of volunteering at your local community, all that sort of stuff. And if you managed to sort of tick those boxes, you'd be in with a chance of running with the Olympic torch. So I sort of did all my volunteering, and then with the hope that I could run with the Olympic torch, and it played ball, and I got to run with it, which was amazing.
What was it like just running and like so many people cheering, and especially like what fascinates me is at 15 as well. Like, was it overwhelming? Was it just like when you look back at it, it was just too much, or did you just embrace it?
I think it's really surreal when you're doing something like that. You know, like think about one of the best experiences you've had. You sort of look back at it years later and think that was pretty cool, that was fun. I think it was one of those, like at the time you're just like soaking it all in, like the radio interviews that came with it and things like that was just like amazing, and going into school with it the next day, like walking around school with it, it was so cool. But then you look back on it and think, wow, like I'm not going to get to do that again. That was crazy fun. So yeah, just surreal, really.
I'm so jealous, honestly. But so after you've done that, so you'll move, obviously you're still playing badminton at a very high level, and then you were in the national championships and you were champion under 17 level in singles and under 19 level, under 19 discipline at doubles. Talk to me about going to the national championships and your in both, and progress in winning singles and doubles, and how that was.
I mean, I come from a perspective of it was sort of like expected for me to do quite well at the championships. Okay. So going into them is always quite high pressure, because you're playing everybody who you feel like you should win. I feel like everyone's been in a position where you're playing against people who are pretty good, and it's like, right, I really should win this. So it's quite a tough experience for the players who should be winning them. But it's still amazing to come back with a gold medal every single time. Whenever you play national championships, it has like a extra special feeling about going and winning them. Compared to tournaments abroad even, just because it's just England and it's just really cool to win them. I like them. But yeah, I think go into it with the same preparation as do every other tournament. So go round by round, take it each game at a time, look at the opponent that's in front of you, and try not to look too far ahead. Remember when the draws come out and you think, oh, I'm in that seeds bit, or oh, I could do all right there. But try not to look at that and just take game at a time and just try and see your way through it.
Is that your mindset for no matter what the tournament, just take it game by game? Because for me, and I'm sure for many other players, that's the mindset that works. Would you say that's the mindset that works best for you? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I'm lucky at the moment. Whenever there's a tournament, I normally only have one game a day or so. So there's a big focus on like preparing for the one game that you've got the next day. You do a lot of video, like watch how they play, all that sort of stuff. But again, I try not to look too far ahead, because I think if you think, I'll win that one, it's always the one that's the biggest hurdle if you think that. So yeah, definitely one game at a time.
Awesome. So as you're obviously getting older and stuff, you're thinking about unis, and obviously you went to Loughborough. And was that, because everyone knows that's like the sports, Loughborough is, right up there. Was badminton a big decision in why you wanted to go to Loughborough?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Bath University is a great option with Pete there.
Sure.
I just made the decision that I was going to be playing just ladies doubles moving forwards. So Loughborough had a couple years older than me. They had Vicky, they had Jenny, they had 2 Malaysian sisters who were top 20 in the world that were training there at the time. So for me, it was pretty decent. It was pretty good. So for me, it was like such a clear choice to go to Loughborough. They've got an amazing program in terms of like the support with the physios, nutritionists, just everything that's involved there is just tip top. Like you can compare it to the national centre quite easily, because the support there is just amazing. So yeah, badminton was definitely a big aspect. Of course, the course was important as well, but but badminton was a big aspect for sure.
And did you play varsity for Loughborough at all?
So Loughborough had like a weird varsity. We played Durham, which is a bit weird because it's like opposite ends of the country. But yeah, so we have like something it's called D-Day at Loughborough, and you play against Durham. But their badminton squad wasn't amazingly strong, so it wasn't overly competitive, but still very important for the university to win that day, I think.
And also, did you play Bucks as well?
I did play Bucks for my 4 years there. I only ever managed silver in the individuals, never won the gold. And then the team event, I think we won 3 out of 4, and then we got a silver in the final year.
As a university team, does that again like sort of further help the team aspect of badminton? Because for me and personally, I've heard lots of other stories of a university team in particular is a real team, and also almost family culture almost. And did that help you personally?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really fun. I found like the whole club really important to me. So it wasn't just necessarily the team that I was in Bucks, but the whole community as a place. I mean, I used to coach the second and third team quite a bit at my time at university, so it made me feel really part of the badminton squad as a whole. It was really nice to have like friends outside of the team. I think it gives you like a real belonging at university as well. So I kind of had like my badminton friends that I trained with, my badminton friends like in the whole club, and then my course friends and the people I lived with. And it's just nice to have like different aspects of your life all in the same place. It was really cool.
Sounds lovely. So obviously pre-COVID there were Badminton England gold tournaments, and I'm heard from Will, you won quite a few. You've won quite a few in your time. How is that? Well, firstly, I've got 2 questions here. Is there one tournament in particular that sticks in your mind, or you maybe not? And how hard is it to, keep on entering them and keep mentally and physically able to keep playing all these tournaments and keep doing well in them?
So I think in terms of my favourite one, I've always had a soft spot for Wimbledon. I really like the place. It's got some really nice places around it to go for lunch and everything, and it's really fun to play. It's definitely very important. Yeah, very important. It's definitely my favourite tournament on the national circuit, I think. In terms of being able to play them, I think it's actually really tricky to be able to play them when you're away so much. I know there's been a big focus on trying to get the top players playing the gold tournaments, but I also don't think people realise how tricky it is to actually fit it into the schedule. I do my absolute best to play them because I think it's really important to try and represent at the national competitions. But when you're playing sort of like maybe I don't know 2 or 3 international tournaments in a month in the normal calendar, it's really quite tough to fit on the gold tournaments as well. But when you can play them, it's really, really nice. It's also nice to catch up with loads of people that you haven't seen before. So the social aspect again is really fun.
Awesome. Actually, I did forget a question, to be honest. Will mentioned, and I didn't know this, you were the Junior Swiss Open champion for 2 years, or just, is that right?
I won the doubles and the singles in my final year, I think.
So talk to me about going, because as again, sort of as a sort of fairly standard player, like going away to a different country for a tournament like that, that sounds fascinating to me. Like, talk to me about the first time you went away to a national tournament and how that was as an experience.
So the first time I ever went away to play for England at an international, I was actually 10, and we went to Belgium. So it's quite a long time ago now.
Yeah.
So a very long time ago. We were so excited though. We got like the jumpers and we printed like England on them all, and it was so much fun. It was amazing. And when you're kids going away to those tournaments, it's like the best fun. Literally, like if you imagine like ICT kind of level, going away to another country with all your mates, it's honestly like so much fun. Loved it so much. Unfortunately, as you get a bit older, it gets a bit more serious, which is quite sad. But as a kid we loved it. But even now, like, I still really enjoy it, like going away to a different place, settling into the tournament hotel, having a look round. I normally get a day at the end of the trip where I get to sort of explore the city. So we take the tram into the centre, have a look what's around, of course pre-COVID. But no, I love going away. That's definitely the best bit about being a player.
Do you find there's more nerves or more pressure going to an international tournament, or is it you just take it the same as every other match you play?
I kind of find it quite similar now. I guess we actually play more abroad than we do in this country now. So it's sort of more probably less stressful than playing in this country in a way. I think anything that you're familiar with, you feel less stressed about. But if it's something different, it's always like, oh, I don't know about this. So I think anything in England, like Prem, I find quite stressful. It's probably the most stressful tournament of the year. But yeah.
I was just about to come on to Prem actually, so you led me in quite nicely there. Thank you very much. So you've been a part of the Prem team for quite a while now. Again, sort of two questions this. How is everyone knows Avon's a fantastic county for togetherness. How is that aspect of being in the Prem team for one, and also is there a particular weekend sort of day or match that again really sort of sticks out in your memory as one that you'd love to look back on?
Okay, I think we'll go with the one that sticks out the most. So I think probably actually the first time I played Prem, we were actually in Prem B at the time. So I was quite young and part of that team who then got promoted to Prem A. And I remember playing in York in the railway station place and playing like the game. Yeah, it's such a it's
weird hall. Sorry, carry on.
And we were playing there to try and get promoted to Prem A. And I remember winning that, and everyone was like, that's such a big thing to be in Prem A now. So that was a really good feeling, that one. I also have actually really fond moments of playing with someone we've already interviewed, Porter, at Prem A. I really love playing mixed with him because he's so keen and he's such a good guy. So I really like playing with him, and every match I've managed to play with him really sticks out. Just because it's so much fun. What was the other question? Sorry.
Just the same with every Avon team. Like from what I've heard, the togetherness of the Prem team, as Porter said, is really strong. And how does that help playing for the Prem team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really nice to see everybody. Quite a lot of the people in the team I was training with at Bath University before I came to Loughborough. So it's really good to see all those guys again and see what they're all doing with their lives now. Everyone's sort of moved away and moved on, so it's nice to catch up with them. But also just everyone on court is so supportive, and I feel like we actually beat teams that are sometimes better than us, just because we're so together and help each other out so much. Especially even the new people in the team, I feel like we're quite supportive of them and like try and help them through the new experience of Prem. And I'd like to think that we're quite welcoming to anybody who hopefully comes into the team.
Awesome. Just quickly on something else you said. So you said you're in the Prem B and you got promoted to Prem A. How did you adjust to the step up in standards from that yourself?
I remember the first year it was really tough because the difference at the time, and I'm not sure if it's still the case, but between Prem B and Prem A was huge. Like there was like 6 teams that sort of stayed in Prem A, and it was really hard to get for the teams who came up to not go back down again. We managed to just scrape it in the first year, probably through Cole's sort of like boosting us up a little bit, winning all of his matches. But yeah, it was definitely a huge step up to begin with. And then as years went on, we managed to recruit a couple of really strong players from Bath Uni and managed to stay up in that Prem A, and then sort of build players of our own. Like Kirby improved loads, and we had loads of Avon based players that got a lot better and managed to get into the team and keep us up there.
Awesome. So now moving on to the German league that you played in.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how that came about and sort of going over there and your experience with that.
So yeah, I play for TSV Trittau in the Bundesliga 1 in Germany. They're based in Hamburg, so up the north bit of Germany. I go there, of course, pre-COVID again. We go there quite regularly. We have 18 matches throughout the year, and it's between September and March sort of time. So I'm there quite a lot of weekends. And again, it's a really, really nice feel. We go with the same people every weekend. People you play with on the circuit. Actually, one of the boys I live with also plays for the same team, so we get to travel together and play together. And again, it's really good fun. Sort of that team atmosphere. There's a different structure to how Prem's done, so it's more on the boys' side because more guys play. So there's two men's singles, two men's doubles, one women's singles, one women's doubles, and a mixed. But it's really good fun. There's players from all over the world that come and play in the league. There's people from like Indonesia, Russia, all sorts. So it's good fun and really challenging league. The standard in it is super duper high. So it's really good fun to play and competitive.
I'm not sure if I missed it. How did you end up getting integrated with it?
Yeah. So quite often there's sort of team managers that come and watch some of the international tournaments. And I was at one of the German internationals, and one of the managers came up and just spoke to me and see if I was interested in playing in the league at all. So that's sort of how it came about, really.
Nice. Got scouted then. Lovely.
Not for us.
So obviously, about a year ago now, COVID hit, and not good for anyone. Personally, how did you deal with that? I saw you posted some training videos and stuff, but I mean, yeah, it must have been tricky not be able to train at the high level that you do as often as you could.
Yeah, I mean, it's an impossible situation for everybody, isn't it? It's just like a complete life turnaround within almost 24 hours, wasn't it? It's almost weird. I've kept like a scrapbook throughout, and it's strange how like on the way it's sort of like turned from, oh, this tournament's cancelled, like, oh, it's a bit weird, why is that cancelled, like, what's this COVID about? And then it sort of turns into, you're not allowed to leave your house, as we all know now. It was really tough to begin with. I tried to set out like a really like structured weekly schedule every week, so I kept training 3 times a day every day, just to make sure that I had something to focus on. I think it's really important, and keeping a bit of structure, but also keeping fit, because we didn't know. We kept being told elite players might be allowed back quite soon, so we just didn't know when we were going to be allowed back on that court. It was a day, every day trainings, just so when we were allowed back, it wasn't going to be an easier transition than what it would be. I mean, it ended up being, I think it's 17 and a half weeks it was in the end. So it was a long time off that court, and of course for everyone else even longer. So it was just a tough time, but I guess just did whatever we could to keep fit, keep seeing people on Zoom. The amount of Zoom sessions I'm sure everyone has, like, it's just crazy. I mean, I coached on Zoom most days. I had like a session ran for me most days on Zoom. Had like little challenges, little 5K challenges that we used to do, like jump challenges, all sorts of things just to keep you interested. But yeah, just trying to carry on as much as normal as possible, I guess.
How important were those sort of challenges and Zoom calls to sort of keep morale up and keep feeling like, I'm still making progress with my fitness, even though there's such limited facilities?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm quite a competitive person. So if I didn't have that sort of like group mentality of everybody had a challenge each week and who was on the top of the table, who was on the bottom of the table, if I didn't have that, I would have really struggled. But every day it was like, right, I need to beat this person because I want to get above them on the table. And then each week our coach was really good, like keep refreshing the challenges. There was always something new. I mean, even when it got to like silly things like keep you uppers with a shuttle and things like that, it just kept it interesting. So no, it was really, really important.
And so obviously, fast forward to now almost, you're currently training with the English squad at MK, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
So so talk to me about, sort of maybe even talk to me about sort of your daily routine with that, or not maybe there's a routine, but maybe just how that is and maybe if you have one.
I mean, firstly, we're super duper lucky to be able to train. I mean, every day we are just so lucky. There's lots of protocols in place at the moment, so it's not like a normal training day would be, because of course we can't come into contact with as many people as possible. You're only allowed with your partner and all those sort of stuff. But I really enjoyed my time here. I've been here since September now, so I've been here nearly 4 months ish. It's really good training, really intense. I mean, you're up with the best guys in the country. My squad's not huge. The women's doubles only has 3 pairs in it, so we're lucky enough to be able to hit against Lauren and Chloe quite a bit, but also the other couple of women's doubles that are around. I mean, it's really good here. There's loads of coaches, so each section has like 2 coaches, and they sort of set our program. We refresh goals every couple of weeks, trying to keep it interesting again. Like we had different tournaments and things that aren't necessarily to do with badminton, just to keep it interesting, because a lot of us still haven't been able to play tournaments. But no, I really like it. It's really positive environment.
Awesome. And just sort of lastly, looking forward, obviously it's so hard to sort of really be able to plan anything out at the moment, for obvious reasons. But are you the type of person that sort of likes to set yourselves particular goals in badminton, or you just sort of keep on working hard and you'll take opportunities when they come?
I mean, I'm quite a goal setter. I'm quite like I did maths at university, so I like writing things down and being quite particular with everything that I do. So I'm one of those people who the coaches have to sit down with every 2 weeks, and we look at tactical goals, like physical goals, all these little things that you've got to make sure that I'm hitting every week, because I think I'd really struggle otherwise. We actually have some tournaments on the horizon, which is really exciting. I think our first one's in 2.5 weeks.
Oh,
so really looking forward to that. Yeah.
Which one is
we
that?
managed to squeeze in the Swiss Super 300.
Awesome.
So it's one of the Olympic qualifiers, but we've managed to squeeze in because of COVID and sort of some countries not being allowed to enter and stuff. So I think we've got 3 or 4 tournaments on the horizon, so that's really exciting. So it's been a real goal of ours for the last month or so to really try and knuckle down and get ready for those, get match ready. So that's exciting.
And do you feel like in good shape going into all of these tournaments?
Yeah, we've been doing like weekly tournaments at the NBC every week. So every Thursday we have to wait for our schedule the next day, and then they send out like a match schedule of who's playing who at what time, and you come in, you play your match. If you win, you play your next round. So they've been sort of trying to give us like tournament like things every single week to get us used to like the environment and being competitive again, because like everyone knows it's very different playing a game in practice to a game in a tournament. So that's been really positive, and everyone's really enjoyed that. So hopefully if we're able to do that every week, we should be able to replicate it in a tournament. Fingers crossed.
I was just about to say, how important is sort of creating a tournament atmosphere, like when we've been out, had a lack of it for so long? How important has that been for you personally?
Yeah, really important. The first taste we had of it was, I don't know if anyone saw the Challenge Cup on the BBC Sport. Yeah. I think it was back in beginning of December. I remember warming up for my game thinking, this is so stressful. Like, I was really quite tense for that match, just because it had been nearly a year that we'd played like anything like semi-competitive. And it's just like, you can play as many games you like in training. It just feels so different playing that competitive edge match. And like all the shouting and all the emotions that go with playing is very different in a tournament. So hopefully it will be okay.
Awesome. Well, Jess, good luck.
Thank you.
That will be it. Thank you so much for joining me, and everyone, thank you very much for listening. We might have Jude White on next. That's still subject to a contract agreement that me and Will Menace are working out day by day. So everyone, thank you very much for listening, and Jess, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, Alex. Cheers.